Caribbean Gospel TV. Welcome. It's another edition of Inside the Industry, and it's always a pleasure to be with you. I am Soraya Romero, and today we'll be speaking with a gospel artist who is originally from Trinidad and Tobago and is currently living in Italy. If you would have tuned in before to our previous episode, you would have seen some of her interview, and we're here to do part 2, where we explore deeper into her music. So Coleen, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Lovely. So last time we spoke on the last episode, you told us a bit about what it was like growing up in Trinidad and then transitioning into life in Italy, and you told us all about your passion for singing and you overcoming lots of fear when it comes to performing and that kind of things. And now we're speaking about your music. So you have wrote and you have produced music, and we just want to learn some more about your songs, right? So tell me, the first song that you ever produced, what was the process like for that song, and how was it like writing that very first song, 1 minute?
Well, I did not know that I actually could write songs until I'm a massage therapist. I work in a spa. And one day when I was massaging this lady, it was a Chinese Brazilian lady, I had on my worship music, only the instrumentals, and I asked her, I said, do you mind the music? Right. And she said, oh, I love Jesus. I said, you recognize the instrumental? She said, yes. And at the end of the massage, she told me, can I pray for you? I was like, of course. And then she blessed me, and then she told me, I believe that you will start writing songs. And she wanted to introduce me to her husband, who is the worship leader of their church, a big church in Los Angeles. Uh-huh. And I was happy to speak to him, and he said to me, you need to keep your cell phone near to you when you sleep, because the Holy Spirit will inspire you songs, and you need to sing them right away into your cell phone, because then you will forget.
Wow.
Which is actually so. As I get something, I have to sing it, because afterwards it is gone. Mm-hmm. And so about 3-4 months afterwards, I started getting pieces of songs, singing them into my cell phone, and then building them afterwards.
Right.
And my first song was 1 minute. And well, the first song that I produced was 1 minute.
Right.
Because the actual first song that I wrote is Under His Wings.
Okay.
But I did not put it to music the way it is until now.
Right.
But the first song that was produced, which is autobiographical, my story is 1 minute. And it speaks about my journey to have my son. Now, when I got married, I was very young. I was almost 23. I moved to Italy. We were engaged. We moved to Italy and had a terrible marriage. It was the most terrible thing. Unfortunately, my mother-in-law, who was challenged physically, stayed with us, and from the beginning my husband refused to go to work, and I was going to work, doing showroom during the day and modeling in the fashion shows whenever they were. We live in a town where there were many hotels, also many guests, so there would be not high fashion shows, but nice ones. And then I did do Petit once, which was a bigger fashion show, but he had no intention of finding work. He decided to live off his mom's pension and take care of her. And because of the way the Italian mothers and mother-in-laws are, you see it on TV, you don't actually think it's true, but they are very particularly jealous of their sons, and it was very difficult, very. And it was so bad that after she died, about a year afterwards of cancer, he went into a huge depression and continued not working and continued not doing anything. He actually gained like 16 kilos in 1 year just doing nothing. And we also had what was called, unfortunately, this is the first time I've spoken about it, and you can actually cut it out after if you want. I had a white marriage with this person. I don't know if you know what a white marriage is. well, a white marriage. I don't know if he knows what a white marriage is. A white marriage is when the marriage has not been consumed. The marriage was not consumed because of the extreme stress that there was in this house. My mother-in-law was capable of having fits to get what she wanted and screaming all day. And just to be able to be calm was very, very difficult. And she was extremely jealous of her son. And it was just not possible. I don't know how to explain. And by the time the years were passing by, people were like, you don't know how to explain something like that, except to say that we were probably never alone. And also the changing dynamics of, even though she died, then I did not feel it become more like a brother and sister kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It was hard. Mm-hmm. And by the time that finished, and I told him I wanted, I not only that, I would say, well, let's go out, let's do something together, but he wouldn't. Mm-hmm. And I got married, I was 22, almost 23. He was only 7 years older than I was, so I could not imagine that he had these kinds of problems. You would mm-hmm. associate those things with a very elderly person, but I honestly did not know, mm-hmm. because I was a virgin when I got married. So when this happened to me, at a certain point, I blamed God. Mm-hmm. And I was very angry with God, and I said, if I cannot get to marriage and marry you and honor you the way that I did, and mm-hmm. my marriage turned out this way, then I do not believe in you anymore, and I will do what I want. Mm-hmm. Nobody is supposed to actually do that. But I was very angry with Jesus. I was like, I will not. Not because I said that did I go and misbehave. I didn't. Because I've always been, how do you say in Italiano, pudica, very, not straight-laced, but very, want to do the right thing. Yeah. So when I met Marco, who is my child's dad, I fell in love with him immediately. Same time I met him. It happened, two of us at the same time. And I went to live with him. And of course I know that is wrong, but I told Jesus, I don't care. What sense did it make serving you anyway? And mm-hmm. getting married when I was a virgin until I got married didn't serve me anything. Mm-hmm. So that is why in my song 1 minute I say, pain I can't bear it but I must, only in you can I trust, I hurt you so, because I turned my back on God. And if I had died during that period of 10 years, we lived together for 10 years, I would have gone to hell. Wow. It's just that simple. So that I know now that the trend is that people live together and decide if they want to get married or not. That is not God's will. He's very specific about our bodies being temples and the way we should go, the way we should be. Mm-hmm. And so I had to ask him to forgive me. I begged him to forgive me. I know that he did. Yeah. But at that time I was so upset with God, and it was not his fault. Yeah. I just made the wrong choice. Yeah. I totally made the wrong choice. And so that is how 1 minute started. 1 minute started because we wanted a child so badly. I have always wanted to be a mom. I was one of these women. I would have loved staying home, being a housewife, and being the perfect mom. Mm. Like when we were little, they would ask you, Coleen, what would you want to be when you grow up? I'd be like, I want to be the perfect mom and perfect wife. Mm. And my teachers would be like, you don't want to be a doctor, a lawyer? I was like, I want to be the perfect mom and perfect wife. That was like the best thing, the only thing that I wanted, and then ended up having nothing. Yeah. And so when I met Marco, he was not only dashing, but he made me laugh. And then he would speak to me in English and Spanish and Italian, and he would sing arias, and we would laugh all the time, and it was very easy to love him. And I did love him so much. And he loved me so much. His family loved me. They were these kinds of Italians where they would always go to Africa on holidays and love black people. And they just loved me, and I loved them. And also, you know, his mom was more than a mom to me, because I had a very difficult relationship with my mom growing up. Mm-hmm. And she gave me all the love that my mom was not able to give me. Mm-hmm. So it was very easy for me to be englobed in this family.
Yeah.
But I was sinning.
Right.
I was sinning. And so Marco could not have children. He had varicocele. I don't know how you say in English, varicose. When, anyway, his sperm was not strong enough. They were very small. They would hardly move, and they could not penetrate any egg at all. And so we went to a fertility clinic, and they tried doing tests on him, and he fainted. He could not stand any kind of test. So they said, you would have to be the one to go through it. And I was like, well, my doctor told me don't do it because you are healthy. But it was the only way to have a child, which I've always wanted, with the man that I did fall in love with. And so I went through it, and the first time around, nothing. I did end up having a terrible experience back then, because it was many years back then. Now doing IVF is very easy.
Yeah.
But then 20-something years ago, the first time I did it was 23 years ago, it was the most painful thing.
Yeah.
And getting fat and getting polyps. And then the second time we were supposed to do it, I had a complete nervous wreck. I said I would never do it again. And when we decided to do it, I did go to a psychologist friend of ours. He's actually a psychiatrist, but he treated me as though we were a psychologist, and I would go and I would speak to him, and he gave me injections of wisdom and telling me, you can do this if you want. But you know, if I were to do it over again, I would not do that. I'll tell you why in the end. Mm-hmm. And he helped me through it, building me up and saying, you can do it. Mm-hmm. Don't worry. Even if you have to bear the pain, you can do it because you so want this baby.
Yeah.
The reason why I wouldn't go through that again is because I totally believe that Jesus can help that you have a baby. Even if you don't have fallopian tubes, uterus, ovaries, he can do anything. So I would not do that again. Mm-hmm. But at the time, I was not going to church. I was 10 years without going to church and everything. And so I did not believe that at the time.
Right.
But I totally believe now in miracles. And I believe you just can, if you are supposed to have a baby, even if you haven't had a baby, 20 years waiting.
Yeah.
Even if you're in your 50s, you can have a baby. So I believe that. I believe that now. But back then I had backslidden, so Yeah. And so the second time around, we started doing the injections, very painful injections in the stomach. And for the second time, the first time too, when I was supposed to do the injections, Marco would disappear and go to his parents' house and not come back. So the injections he's supposed to be giving me, I would started giving them to myself. And it was as though he had to not be there, and he left me alone. And I was very annoyed with him, very upset with him. Mm-hmm. You know, I was bearing a lot. And then when I finally did find that I was pregnant, I was telling the doctors I feel so ill, and I had gained like 10 kilos in 10 days, and they told me to measure because I was swelling up, and it was because I had been hyperstimulation. And when I went to the hospital, they saw that I had multiple cysts and fibroids, but I was pregnant. And so it was a long thing in the beginning, really hard. And during the first week, Marco and I broke up.
Wow.
Because we found out that he was bipolar, and he had become completely aggressive and doing all kinds of things, that unimaginable things. And I almost died because of the excess edema, the excess liquids in my body provoked by the hyperstimulation. The liquid went to my lungs, and filling my lungs because I wasn't breathing. And I was telling the doctors, I was telling them, I can't breathe. And they're saying, you're only stressed. And the only position I could, where I was like this, in a position that was so strange. And they would say, why don't you lie down and sleep and just don't worry? And I was like, because I can't breathe. This happened for 7 days straight. And the 8th day, a doctor from a different department of the hospital, a different ward, was passing by, and he says to me, Madam, why are you sitting like that? I said, because I can't breathe. And he brought down the ones that do anesthesia.
Yeah.
And they took blood from my artery and saw that I had almost no oxygen.
Wow.
And they raced to drain my lungs, and I felt everything. And they saw that the liquid edema had also gone to my heart.
Wow.
It was bad. I really almost died. And in the midst of that, my ex, he had terrible bipolar that came out with the pregnancy, the first few days. So he became aggressive and all those kinds of things. And that is how I started my pregnancy. And that is how Marco and I broke up during the pregnancy, and almost losing my son from the 4th month, and I had to be in bed totally until I gave birth.
Wow. And was it during that period that you wrote, or was it
that is during
after?
That was during how my 1 minute started. Is that at the time I had a salon, and we had broken up. I had put a bed, one of those closing beds, open close beds, in the waiting room. And in my waiting room there was a clock that would be tick-tocking. And I was in so much pain because the baby was growing and pressing on the fibroids and the cysts that were also growing. And I would say, Lord, if you do not give me a minute of life, I will die of pain. Literally, I said to him, give me a minute of life because I will die. And I started closing my eyes and counting. And when I thought I got to 60 seconds, it was like 10 seconds when I opened my eyes, because when you are suffering so badly, time stands still, it doesn't move forward. And so when I would finally get to 60 seconds, I would thank him for the minute that he gave me of life, because I thought I will surely die. And that is how I counted every single minute until I got to an hour. And I said, well, you gave me an hour, maybe you can give me another hour. And I counted and counted and counted until I gave birth at 8 months and a half. And then almost when I was about 6.5 months, I started begging the doctor, would you please give me a cesarean? And she would say, Madam, if you wait for another week, the baby's heart will be so much better. So I would wait another week and I'd go back, would you please give me a cesarean? I was in so much pain. And she said, Madam, if you wait for another 10 days, the little kidneys would be perfect. And she did that all the time until she got me to 8.5 months, because I was begging her to have a cesarean because I was in that much pain the whole time.
Wow.
Yes.
What a story. What a story.
And so I would hear the tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. In the song, you hear the tick-tocking is because I was counting.
Wow. So let's take a look and listen at the song 1 Minute by Coleen.
Can't bear it, but I must. Crying out louder, God, I need your help. Only in you can I trust. I hurt you so. You didn't deserve it, oh my God. No. Can I ask you now to help me? Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. I resisted for 1 minute. I resisted for 1 more minute. I kept on took my hand. You told me to hold on. Yeah, I was struggling, Lord, I needed you so much. Then I took your hand. I held on tight to your power and your might. Yeah, I resisted for 1 minute more, oh God. Then another minute more. Yeah, tick tock, tick tock. I resisted for 1 minute. I resisted for 1 more minute.
It's Inside the Industry here on Caribbean Gospel TV, and speaking with me today is Coleen. You've seen some of her music, you've heard her music. She is Italian, she's Trinidadian, she's quite a mix. And we're really happy to have her with us. So Coleen, you shared with us before about your first song, 1 minute, and I know you have, a lot of other songs as well. Forgive instead. Yes, that's a really popular one of your favorites. Tell us a bit about how that one came about.
It has to do with my ex, the father of my son, and it was written because of the way the pregnancy went and having to deal with everything alone. And after that, him and his parents tried to take my son away from me. They tried to take my son away from me by going to the judge and telling them that I intended to kidnap him and bring him to Trinidad, which was absolutely not true. So I had to go through court case and all of that, and seeing that my ex's father was now, I had got myself into a particular situation. I told you I wasn't going to church at the time, and Marco, my son's dad, was unfortunately the grand architect in the masonry. What you tell me? In the Masonic lodge where we lived in the area. So they knew all of the judges, everybody that they knew, and all we could do was pray, because this was a family that knew everybody, a very powerful family. And my dad literally fasted for 37 days, only water, praying for us. And the church, we were all praying. And the God gave me favor, where the judges said that, Trinidad is a place where there's no extradition. So they were also saying, if you allow her to go to Trinidad, she will stay because her country will protect her.
Yeah.
So against all odds, because Jesus is Jesus, the judge said that I could come home.
Yeah.
And he could not stop me.
Wow.
So that happened, and also that is why I had to learn not only how to learn, I was determined to differentiate the relationship between Marco and me and my son Leon and his dad. Because children, if they don't have their fathers, there's this big hole that remains in them, and a lot of pain. And so it affects the adults that they become. So I had to forgive him. And even though I did forgive him, I was not able to explain to people that were our friends what had happened, because when I went to court, I remember my lawyer defended me without knowing anything about me, because I could not speak. I literally went through a period of time when I was mute from the pain of it.
Yeah.
She found out about people that saw me, people that helped me when I was in bed all the time for those months. And so when I say forgive instead, it was as though I had to get to that point, because there were moments when I would hear on the TV, father of 3 killed in an accident, and I was like, Lord Jesus, this man taking care of his children is dead, and this man is alive. Every time I hear somebody drowned, I was like, why is this person drowned and he's still alive? All the time I would do these comparisons until years after, God helped me to change my heart and to forgive him, and that's why I wrote that song.
Wow.
Yeah.
So beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
We thank God for that. We really do.
Yeah.
Here is Forgive Instead on Caribbean Gospel TV.
Doing your best to not retaliate. Trying your hardest to concentrate. Doing to others like you'd have them do to you. Turning your mind from the hurtful things they put you through. Forgive instead. Forgive instead. Don't let it go to your head. Don't wish them dead. Forgive instead. Doing your best to not retaliate. Trying to love when it's easier to hate. Don't hate. Turning the other cheek, long suffering's a quality that he requires of you. Forget about hostility. Forgive instead. Forgive instead. Don't wish them dead. Try praying, go ahead. Forgive instead.
Coleen here on Inside the Industry. Coleen, you recently released a new song, your latest song. Tell us a bit about it and tell us a bit about your process writing and producing this song.
Well, I love Psalm 91. It is my favorite psalm. And it became especially dear to me when my son was 7 years old. He had seen his dad is bipolar, and he has these long spells of violence, very harsh things happening, even though we are not living together. But I would have to send him to his dad's house. I would try not to send him, speaking to the lawyer, trying to get the judge to understand, but they wouldn't. So I had to send him, and I would pray all night through for him. And I would pray Psalm 91 over him. And there was one particular time when he had seen something that really disturbed him so much he started to have nightmares. He started to dream of little dark beings trying to kill him. He would dream of being sucked into the earth and dying. When we went, I took him to the psychologist. Every time it would be like not protected. He would dream of being in the rain but the rain was like slashes and a thunderbolt killing him, or dying. All of that was about dying. And he literally had a spirit of fear and death.
Yeah.
And so when I realized what it was, I started praying with a friend of mine against it, because he really did need deliverance. The child literally had a spirit of fear and death bothering him. And then I taught him Psalm 91, and he would recite it all the time. And then I started somehow singing it to him. But it took me many years to get it to the way it is now, because I did it many times and it wasn't the way I wanted it. So only now managed to get it to where I like it.
Wow, beautiful.
Yes.
And you also produced a music video as well, right?
For Under His Wings, not yet.
Okay.
For the others,
is it in the making soon? Is it something that you're planning to do?
When I get the money, yes, I will.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Excellent.
Yes.
And what was the recording process like for you? Did you record it in Italy or?
This is the only one that I've done in Italy. The others I've always done with Real Lynch.
Okay.
Yes.
Beautiful.
And I did it this time. It is an Afrobeat, and I have two African guys, one from Congo and another one from, I think, Ivory Coast, that did it. And they're both Christian, of course, and I really, really, really like it.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to be danceable because I find that many people think that Christian music can be boring. Now, we're living in the Caribbean, so we know it's not that. But if you're living away, people literally think, especially in a Catholic country like Italy, they think that Christian music is boring. So I wanted them to understand that it's not. And I wanted that to be simple so that they were able to learn it. So I have written it also in Italian. So I'll see when that can be done.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you write your other songs in Italian as well, or is this the first one?
No, they're also translated into Italian, but it's just that when I sing in Italian, I have an English accent still. And I figure that so many people sing their songs and then other people translate it, so probably it's better if an Italian sings it or a French person sings it in that language, because I still have a very marked accent in yes.
English. So
Yes.
interesting. Well, Coleen, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, learning about your songs, learning about your history, your journey with God and coming to know Him better. Thank you so much, and I'm sure that lots of persons will also be very moved by your music. As we close, are there any closing words from you? What are you hoping to do next with your music?
There is another song that I wrote called Into His Open Arms, Surrender. And I would like to leave your viewers surrendering to Him is everything, because without Jesus helping you through minute by minute, step by step, we really can spend eternity in a place different from heaven, and that is not what we want. And so my song Surrender, I love it. I do not know of all the songs that I've written which one I prefer, which one is best for me, because one minute is my story, Forgive Instead is important, the forgiveness. I like the Afrobeat one, but Surrendering is just what every Christian tries to evangelize to others, and sometimes it's hard talking to others about it. Some people make jokes about the things we say, and we may be ridiculed, but maybe through this song, which I intended for unbelievers in a jokey way, but trying to get a message across, is something that I would like to leave the viewers with.
Beautiful. Let's take in that song. Thank you so much for watching here on Caribbean Gospel TV.
Surrender, come home, surrender, don't turn away, surrender, won't work your way, surrender, come to me, run to me, surrender, I'm here, surrender, I won't go away, surrender, it's better my way, surrender, come to me, run to me, run to your God, His arms open wide, there to receive you, run to His arms open wide, there to receive you. Surrender, running to surrender, not running from surrender, not doing my own thing, surrender, I am running to you, I'm running to you, run to your God, His arms open wide, there to receive me, run to
Hi, I'm Becoming Coleen, a Trinidadian living in Italy, and you are watching Caribbean Gospel TV.